Hello, friends. This is Matt with Art with a Heart in Healthcare. I am here to bring you another Facebook Live edition painting session, art session. For today, we're going to be doing fun stuff. We're going to be painting corn to celebrate November because, corn's on the list of things that runs through my mind, sweet corn especially. Um, for Thanksgiving and stuff like that, all the wonderful November harvest holiday stuff. So here's a couple of examples of things that I came up with, we in the royal sense, and then some other things that we got put together. We're going to start from scratch. Jill is here today. Thanks so much, Jill, for showing up today. Grateful to have you here, my friend. Um, this shouldn't take too incredibly long of anybody's time. For those of you who have never done this before, we're going to start off with just a couple simple supplies. I've got a pencil somewhere around here. This is like a graphite pencil stick with it's just basically a pencil without the wood part around it. If you have a regular #2 pencil or whatever, that's fine too. We're going to use that to sketch out our shape. And then I've got some pens here. This is like just like a, what was that? Faber-Castell artist pen. Any pen will work pretty well. Some of the other pens, like, you just want to make sure that it dries pretty quickly. And if it doesn't dry quickly, give it some time. You can always go back and watch the video from a different part. But yeah, these are the pens that I like to use because they dry pretty fast, and that helps out when you're doing live videos. What else do we need? I got some watercolors here. These are also, let's see, we grab this other set here. We got these watercolors too. These are just kids' watercolors. If you are, at Wholesons or whatever, you got the Art to Go bags. You should have some watercolors in there with, a decent set of options there for colors. And then this is Canson cold press watercolor paper. But if you have regular, the paper that comes with the Art to Go bags, that is also very useful. Just try not to put as much water on that paper because it may crinkle a lot and bubble up on you and stuff. But experimentation. It's always part of the artistic process, the creative process. And also I've got an eraser. Super important eraser to erase my pencil lines later on. Let's see if I can get this shadow off of here so it's not in the way. There we go. And get our light going nice and high. All right, that should be pretty well illuminated. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I got my pencil, my paper. I'm just going to start off with drawing a simple shape here for my corn, like the initial shape. I'll put this over here just for reference so we have some idea, right? So it's going to be, I got a kind of an angle here. Your corn does not have to be shaped like my corn on the cob. Can be fatter, longer, whatever. So that's going to be my basic shape, right? It looks like you can pretty much see that. And you got sort of a wider bottom edge to it on this one, and then it kind of narrows off on the top. Now this bottom edge, where we're going to do our, I don't know what they call that, like the skin, the husk of the corn, we're going to follow this. So I'm going to take my pencil, I'm going to follow this curve. It goes up, but instead of following this line all the way up, I'm going to veer. Oh, you know what? Let's start on the other side. No, what the heck. I'm just going to follow this curve, and then I'm going to veer off to the right like this. And once I get up here, past that outside of that cob shape, I'm going to make a line to the right and then down. All right. So the whole thing should look like this so far. Again, it doesn't have to look exactly like mine. It won't. and even when I do this over and over again, they never look the same. So, you know, don't be too hard on yourself about making this an exact replica, because, you know, it's what it is. It's just fun. It's supposed to be fun. All right, so this kind of curves down like this, and then I'm going to take it also, and on this side, I want some skin to come out on this side. All right, this is going to go up, and then maybe also kind of come down like this. Same thing. Could be a banana at this point also. Right? And let's just kind of finish fleshing this out. So if my line comes up here, I'm going to say I could probably see the top of that husk maybe folded over. So this line is going to come out this way. And then I'm just going to mirror this until it comes down to this point. Right there. Sound effects help. Alright. Now following this curve on the bottom again. I'm going to follow this, but it's going to go off of this edge, come up, and then meet somewhere in here, right? So if it's folded over here, you want this line, this outside edge of the husk to come up here, and then it's going to stop right there. You don't want to go past that line. Now again, we're going to erase some of this stuff later on, clean it up, but for now we're just trying to figure out where stuff is. All right, so this one came up this way, and let's see if we can figure this out, right? So it came up this way. We've got that top edge. It's going to come out here. Probably meet up with that right there. That's a little wacky. Let's take another look at that. It looks too much like a banana, and it's too symmetrical. Let's figure that out. You know what we'll do instead? We'll go this way. We'll go up that way. So it's going to follow up this way, come to a point, come down, and then meet up with that line somewhere. Wherever you want that to meet up with that line. And then over here on the left-hand side, because we want to see the inside of that husk maybe a little bit now, right? On this side, we can come back this way. Actually, we can just follow this line up this way. Let's see the inside of that husk. Now, I'm just kind of doing this from my imagination. Again, because I'm not going for photorealism, but I do have a reference for, you know, the corn color stuff, just in case. Super fun, right? Just a little, just a little picture of some corn seeds. I got a little guideline there. Hey, thanks, Brooke. Let's see, corn. All right, so getting super corn in here. So now we want to give ourselves a guideline for the rows of kernels, right? How are we going to figure out how all this works out? This looks like it took so much time. It doesn't really take that much time. I'm going to do lines across, but instead of just going straight across, in order to give this thing a little seem like it's got like a round shape to it, I'm going to curve my lines, right? Just slightly curve them so they're kind of bow up a little bit in the middle. And you want them kind of widely spaced at the bottom to narrowly spaced up top, right? Because if you look at, you know, corn shape, sometimes you notice that like the kernels at the end, they're tinier. And also I'll give myself some longitude lines, right? So latitude and longitude, I guess. We'll give ourselves some top to bottom, edge to edge. These are just guidelines. I'm going to erase these in a little bit. Just guidelines. Let's see. It goes You want to kind of bring them to a point up here at the top, and they bow out here. They bow out. Now we're doing this because I'm just going to clean this part up right here. We're doing this part because we got to know where our kernels go, but drawing these grids on things can actually be a useful exercise when you're trying to figure out a shape, right? Like even if you're drawing like a head or a hand or whatever, drawing a line that follows the form helps to define that form. You know, the more you do it, eventually, you know, you start to find yourself leaving lines out intentionally. But yeah, it's a good exercise. We'll talk about that some other time. So that's my corn. So figure it out here, and then also I'm going to put a little piece on the bottom. Right, you kind of got that piece where it like attaches to the stalk. I hope I'm getting all this vocabulary right. It's been a while since I've been around cornfields. So we're just gonna give ourselves like a little chunk there. It's like a little tree stump. Check it out. We got a little curve here, little curve here. I put it a little bit in front of this bottom shape, unlike this one, right? See, this one's kind of hiding behind that bottom shape. I put this one here just for fun, just to see what happens. Let's see what happens. These would probably be a little bit longer. Yeah, you can play around with this stuff. Try to figure out, let's give ourselves a little bit more stalk on this side. Yeah. Right. Try to think about this corn reaching all the way to it, peeling it back. Probably have those little, I don't know what they are. They always seem like hair to me, like they have that consistency. I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, you know, and everybody's preparing Thanksgiving dinner or a big holiday dinner, and somebody's got to shuck the corn. It's a great activity to keep the kids out of trouble and also, you know, get them involved in the process of creating a meal, which is important. Having meals together with people you love. Super important. For me, that's my favorite part of the holidays, is the good food and the good company and just sharing a meal with people I love. So yeah, you can experiment with that stuff. Put another one back here maybe. You know, whatever you're into. Maybe a little bit more of that fur stuff there on the top. I think I'm gonna leave it there before I go too nuts with it. So I got my idea of my sketch of my corn. This grid, I'll show you what we'll do with the grid. We put the pencil first. This grid, I'm just going to go through with my pen and start making little, they're not round shapes. They're like marshmallow shapes. I'm going to call them marshmallow shapes. I'll get my pen out here so you can see this a little bit better. So this pen's a little thicker. I got a thinner pen around here somewhere. I could do it with the thinner pen, this one right here. I could do it with this thinner micron. This is like a 0.005. I mean, if you got like a 0.5 or something, that'd be cool. This is a little much. I might be able to use this like on this furry parts out here, but for inside here, I'm going to use a little bit thicker just to help to define these things a little bit more. You know, I'm doing this more for you guys online so you can see the process, I guess, that I go through. It's not really better than anybody else's process, or worse, I guess, but you know, it might help on your journey through the discovery of the arts and your sort of doorway into them. So I'm going around and I'm sketching out these marshmallow shapes inside of my grid. I'm using my grid to help plan these out. Let's make it super easy. I don't have to do any math in my head. There wasn't any sort of calculation of the Fibonacci ratios of the corn, you know, going out to the edges or anything like that. You'll notice also too that I'm not coloring in the entire thing or not inking over every single line. Sometimes leaving those lines, like I was talking about earlier, I guess, leaving some of that stuff to the imagination can help give it a little bit more, I don't know, make it a little bit more interesting to look at. You know, when you look at an object, really, you don't see lines around it, but it makes it easier to draw. I don't know, it's just fun. So I'm just using this red to make these marshmallow shapes. This does take a little while. It's great if you're looking for something to do, some way to spend your time, I think, productively. Make an artist productive. I should have some music or something going on. It's kind of quiet in my house right now. There's no dog barking at the Amazon man. No ambient music playing. Again, don't worry about making this perfect. In fact, the less perfect it is, the more real it'll probably look. You know, if you look at a piece of corn, it's not, I mean, like this is even probably way too symmetrical. I should probably be focusing much less on following these lines. I get carried away with it too sometimes. No exception to the rule for sure. Carried away with the details sometimes. My little marshmallow shapes. Once I get out here to the top, I'll start working more towards the middle of the cob. That way, the ones on the outside, you know, since you're drawing them last, they will seem, you know, they'll seem more like they're wrapping around there. And doing a little narrower at the outside edges to give it more of that round shape. Now, since we're using ink on this part of the corn, we're not going to have to stress out too much about defining that form later on with our watercolors. So it seems like it's taken a little while now, but it's going to save us a lot of time later on in the process. You know, sometimes that's how it works out. Sometimes a little planning can go a long way. All right, so let's get down to this. Here's and here. So there's my little stalk piece. Like a little tree trunk. And then we'll do this shape here. So start this one line here. Again, when you're doing pen and ink, it's always a little bit easier to go from front to back. What I mean by that is like this object is in front of this in front of that. Probably should start with this one first. Really got just into doing the corn kernels. It's still just one of my favorite parts. But yeah, like, so I'm gonna go this way. I'm gonna follow this line and then down to here. And then of course this top of the husk comes over and then just follow that. And see, I'm not exactly following my pencil lines completely, but I'm not stressed out about it. You know, the faster you make these little lines, the more natural they'll seem. And we're drawing corn on the cob, so natural This is a good thing. Have that motion, you know, that single motion. Follow this up here. Follow that right there. See, I'm going to bend off a little bit there. It's a little bit different. Same thing right here. Come up this way. Kind of curl this over a little bit. And this is kind of define this a little bit. Did that part in front. Go back here. Take care of this back part. And then that is the part that's going to wrap right around the other side of the corn cob. Now here's something else I'm going to do. And you don't want to go crazy with this. You don't want to go over the top with it. But it does help a little bit to define the form. Since we've already started with... Oh, thanks, Joe. Yes, Brooke also loves drawing with pens. Drawing with pens is super fun. I used to do it so much when I was younger. I got into painting a lot because it seemed a little quicker, and you know, sometimes you just gotta crank stuff out. But drawing with pens totally is where I used to have all my work when I was younger. Love drawing with pens. A fun tip about drawing with pens too, for anybody out there that's not familiar with this stuff, is if you're doing something like this, like an ink rendering of something, having a thicker line. Like if I, for instance, wanted to make this part of the husk seem like it was just a little bit closer to me, to the viewer, to the eye, whatever, I would kind of maybe focus on making these thicker. You know, you can kind of play with line weight, different stuff like that. There are a lot of really cool techniques for pen and ink. And if you look at, like, you know, any popular work stuff like comics and things like that, you'll see where they use those tools, and like hatching. We're going to do some of that in just a second. I'm going to use the ink to kind of give an impression of a little bit of form around the base and some of the stalk here. To do that, I'm going to grab my other pen. You can do this again with a regular pen. This is a brush pen, but you know, don't limit yourself if you don't have one of these. Now all I'm doing is just touching where I want the line to start, and then brushing it one way and slowly pulling away, right? So just very lightly going over it. And I don't want to go nuts with this, but I'm trying to make the idea of this form, right? This form sort of wrapping around the bottom of this corn cob. You need to split it, spin it around, whatever. You know, find the way that your hand works. If you need to get your elbow into it, you know, that's fine. Sometimes that really helps. Depends on how big your corn cob is, I guess. I'm just kind of, I do have a tendency to go way out of control with these lines because I used to love it so much. It's just this incredibly meditative thing, you know, finding that perfect, you know, you're dealing with extremes, you're dealing with just black and white, and finding that balance between the two to build a form without going over the top or not using enough. It's a fun meditative process. It takes a lot of thought. If you're just, you know, working on something, you're trying to make it look right. But yeah, it's a fun process. So let's see, I'll just carry some of this up here. Again, just really lightly. I don't want to go crazy with it. I'm probably going to have a little bit of shadow underneath this fold. So I'm doing the same thing here. Start at the top and brush down. And as I brush down, I'm just pulling my pen away. Just for fun, right? I have some of this curve here. Anyway, I'm gonna stop there and do something over here. Same thing, just some lines. Now I think this thing is going to kind of bend this way, right? So that's how I want my lines to go. Bend my lines with it. All right. So same thing here, right? Be light coming down on top. This part of my cob, let me hold it upright so it doesn't look all wonky. This part of my husk, I'm sorry, would be a little bit in shadow. So coming down here, brushing that, you know, just scratching that in with a pen, whatever. Now back here, this is going to be pretty light, so I don't want to do much. But what I do want to do, is create a little bit of a shadow here, and that is more to define the difference between the corn cob and the husk, because having that dark, slightly darkened area in the back, right, later on will help create that contrast. It'll help separate those shapes, hopefully. We'll see. All right, so now I want some also on this side. Now there's going to be probably more shadow down here. Kind of got some down this way. I want to continue that up along this edge, but on this part of the husk. This is really fun stuff for me. I don't know about you guys. I mean, I know my friends are hard love also drawing with pens and stuff. It can be a lot of fun. It's turning out pretty good so far. It's all right. Now, also, since we're going through, that's like, I guess is like hatching almost. It's not really hatching. I don't know what you call this. It is kind of hatching. We'll go ahead and do a little bit on the bottom of these kernels, just a tiny bit. I'm not going to go over the top with it again, but really lightly. This is where, you know, when I was talking about having a thinner pen, like one of these 0.005. Ooh, that's so small. That makes it super easy. Look at that. I just scratched those in there. Just kind of right along the bottom of my marshmallow shapes, my marshmallow squares that I made. Just kind of scratching them in. A little tip about doing hatch lines. Ooh, as I throw my stuff around. A little tip about doing hatch lines is when you're doing them, you go from one side. I don't know if you can see that. I'll use my bigger pen here. You go from one side to the other, right? Hatch, 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 hatch. You don't want to do this. It's really easy to get lost in the back and forth, but when you take a step back and look at something, this starts to look a little messy and confusing. This helps to, you know, create those shapes. So, you know, in here, like in here, I'm coming in at the bottom. If I started scratching back and forth, it would make it a little bit darker, you know, overall. Kind of like I did there. You know, and that really, it makes it look a little rushed. And if you're rushed, that's okay. You know, I'm not trying to tell you how to make your art. I mean, I guess I am giving suggestions, but that's where it is. You know, I think it's about taking your time. Sometimes it's about slowing down and appreciating something. One of the most important parts about making art or learning how to make art is learning how to observe. How to observe things. Remember that as you're doing your art journey. All right, what else do I got? I would just want to maybe define this fur shape stuff that I have here on the edges of my husks. It's going to come right off the top. Same exact motion, just brushing it away. Wisping it away. Oh man, I think this is coming out all right so far. If I do say so myself. I'm glad that watching me draw is relaxing for you. It is definitely a large part of the goal. Thank you, friend. I must have drawn at least 6, drawn and painted at least 6 of these earlier, and I think this repetitive process of going over the marshmallow shapes was really my favorite part because it was very relaxing. So I've got an idea of how my corn's gonna look, and honestly, I could probably stop here because I think it's kind of cool, but I'm not. I promised you guys some watercolor stuff, and we've got about 30 minutes left to our Facebook Live hour for today. I'm just gonna erase. I'll erase the pencil stuff. Now, again, this is really important that your ink be dry, because if it's not dry, you will find out really quickly. If you don't have quick drying pens, maybe you can try on a different piece of paper first, you know, just to see, just to experiment with it. You know, if you spend all that time doing something like this and run an eraser across it and it goes, smears all over the place, that's definitely most likely going to be kind of a bummer. Again, sometimes a little planning goes a long way, right? All right, so I think I've got the majority of my pen lines, or my pencil lines, erased. What else am I gonna do? Maybe just a couple dots down here on the bottom of my stalk. A couple dots on the left-hand side. That's not great. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. All right, now I got my brush. I got a couple different brushes here. I got this little standard watercolor brush that came with the set, and then a tiny brush, teeny brush. They're both rounds. Brush doesn't have to be any specific size, for doing this. And honestly, you could do it with just one brush, but it's up to you. So the first thing I'm going to do is just rinse off my brush in my clean water. I'm going to start with a nice bright yellow from my corn, the base of my corn. Get this nice bright yellow. I'm going to go ahead and just fill in this corn area. It's almost like we just made our own little coloring page, right? I mean, I guess that's exactly what we did. We just made our own little coloring page. If you had the line work, you could almost print this out on like a solid stock or something like that at your house. Color it in multiple times. Figure out what colors you wanted to do before you even got into the project. It's not a bad idea. Maybe I'll do that next time. Just making sure I got some yellow down. I like how that looks though. It looks a little desaturated on the camera, but I think it's okay so far. Rinse off my brush a little bit. I'm gonna use this warmer yellow here now. It's basically like yellow with, I don't know, a little bit of purple in it. Not too much though. I mean, if you just got the same yellow, you can do it with that one too. I'm just gonna blob some of that in my husk here. All right, so sorry, I had some technical difficulties there. So just putting some yellow blobs in here. Can't forget about this one back here. Now I'm going to go for some green, right? Because I see that if I look at this, and that's kind of why I kept this out, is to give myself a little idea of the color. It's almost like a lime green going on back there, going on the stalk part. So I'm going to grab some of this green here like that. And you can make a lime green with just some green and some yellow. When you're mixing that stuff, it's always good to start with the lighter color and add the darker color a little bit at a time. And we're going to paint, watercolors is always a little bit better to paint from light. You start with the real lights and then work your way and add the darks as you go along. Whereas, when you work with an opaque medium like acrylic or oil, you end up starting with the darks most of the time and working your way towards the light. This helps us sort of build things up. Alright, so I add that yellow first. Now I'm adding some lime green. It's looking alright so far. Make sure I get back here. Can't forget about this one. I want to kind of leave this a little bit lighter back here if I can, because I want it to be set back, I want it to be set back away from the foreground. Not that we have a huge landscape here, but it's still good to think about these things. Let's see. Get my green over here. And going around those edges, adding some of this green in where I don't have the yellow, where I didn't already plop down that yellow earlier. Making sure I get this down under here too. It's starting to look pretty cool. Put a little color in there. Some of that green, I can just wash it down in there. That's really all we're doing is a wash. It's not anything super complicated. There are definitely ways of doing this with just watercolor, but this seemed like so much more fun today. At least it is for me, because I'm more comfortable with it. Maybe a little bit more yellow here. Right. Darken some of this up too. Especially down here at the bottom, near this stalk part. Right? Now I'll take a dry brush and just kind of pull some of it. If it gets out of control, you can dry your brush off. And that's what I'm doing here, is just drying my brush off and moving it around. I'm almost picking some of it up, I guess. There's a little excess. I want this top up here to be more yellow than anything else. I like that. Kind of looks like the light's coming down on it. A little bit there too. How wild you want to go with this is totally up to you. You can have a super dramatic lighting. Super dramatic lighting for a corn. That'd be fun. In which case, maybe throw some blues down in here in the bottom or something. Get like a little darker green. Just see what happens down here. Maybe throw some down in this stalk, and definitely on this bottom part we're gonna darken that up a little bit. It's probably good to, you know, give this a little time to dry too. As you can see, I'm just slapping the paint on here, and it's starting to buckle a little bit. So, you know, don't get too out of control with it. This is just a little darker green. It's starting to look all right. If you got this far, if you got this far with me so far, kudos to you. Way to go. And I appreciate it. I appreciate the company. All these Facebook Live videos and presentations that we are doing are still pretty new. Still trying to make sure get the word out, and really just overall raising awareness for humanities and medicine, or arts and medicine, because it's needed. I don't really know any other way to put it. It's just needed. I see the difference it makes every day. The people that we work with. So I'm grateful for you, any of you that are checking these videos out. Thanks for doing that. All right, so I think we gave our corn cob sufficient time to dry off. Nice. Throw a little green down here too. Sufficient time to dry off, so now we can add a little bit of something to that. Now we could, you know, here I was experimenting with different colors, using like a raw sienna kind of color. It's like more purples. I guess it looks more like a Indian corn or whatever they call it. More purple stuff. And you know, these are all like, again, it's kind of dramatic, like spaceship corn. You know, it's kind of wild and dramatic there sometimes. But for this, you know, maybe we'll just try using a little bit of the green again, just to sort of chill it out a little bit. Maybe this corn is super fresh. Super fresh. It's still got some chlorophyll in it. Right? Now I've already drawn those little hatch lines that I did sort of at the bottom of my marshmallow, or my marshmallow shapes, if I could say that clearly. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus. You like the purple colored one, Brooke? We could do the purple one. Let's do purple. What the heck? But yeah, so I don't know if you can see that, if the camera will ever focus on that, but there are little hatch lines at the bottom of the corn shape. So let's go purple. It seems to be the consensus over here. So I'm going to go ahead and get some purple. If you don't have purple, you know, you can always make it. Just get a little bit of red. Let's just do that. It's more fun. A little bit of red. Oh, thanks, Mo. Mo just letting me know somebody's walking around out front. It's good to know, buddy. Purple, so a little red and a little blue. A little red, a little blue. Find yourself a purple you like. Now, if I wanted to make this into a nice brown, that would go well with this too. I could add a little bit of the yellow, but we're just going to do this on top. So we're just going to go, now that this purple or the yellow underneath is dry, right? I'm going to just go underneath here. Oof, that purple is intense. I'm just kind of tapping this color underneath these kernels. Just tapping it, taparoo, giving it the old taparoo here. Mix up some more paint. Again, if you have a nice purple color, that's cool too. I like to mix colors because I just feel like I end up with something a little bit more unique sometimes. water over here. There we go. There we go. Just tapping it across there. Look at that. It's just happening so fast. I don't even know what's going on here. If it gets out of control, let's see. I got a little paper towel over here. Pull that up. I kind of don't want it to hit the top of my kernels. I want that more on the bottom of the kernels. Right, just the bottom of the kernels. Up here, I'll maybe do a little bit less purple, ideally, because it's sort of towards the top. It's going to have more light hitting it, you know, as it turns around. And I've got this intense, dramatic lighting on my corn cob. Space cob, defender of the universe. I'm not really sure what's going on there. Cobb is fighting for freedom. Oh, your cat freaked out. Jumped up when she heard Mo, huh? Oh, sorry, I'm just seeing that. This thing doesn't auto-scroll. It's bizarre. I wonder why. Yes, Moso has a very imposing bark. He is, although he is a sweetheart, he is a very large dog. And he knows it. And occasionally, as I'm walking him outside, our neighborhood has a lot of ducks. And occasionally, he likes to jump at the ducks. He's never actually caught a duck. And I don't know if he even knows what he would do if he did catch the duck. But it's kind of cute to see him try. I mean, you know, he's on a leash, so he's not obviously not gonna get the duck, but it's entertaining. Oh, actually, this purple is looking good. Hey, good suggestion. Good suggestion, Brooke. Thanks. I like the purple. I've seen it done different ways. I got a beautiful watercolor painting on my wall from an artist, a Colombian artist named Hinato. It's a bunch of corn, like corn while it's on the stalk. You know, it's stalk. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. But it uses like greens and blues to define the shapes. The purple works really well too because, you know, it's the complement of yellow, so it makes it kind of just like a deeper shade of that same scale. It's looking pretty good. What time is it? 5:49? We got just enough time to, I think, put a little background in here. Remember, after this dries, you know, you can keep going over it. You can keep going over it with watercolors and adding more stuff to it. Like, you know, what if I want this to be more yellow? You know, a little bit more saturated. I'll go in with some more pigment and put that on there. Oh, that does look pretty. That looks nice. I dig it. Or you can go in with pen and ink and define more shapes. If while you're inking this thing, or I'm sorry, while you're watercoloring this thing and you accidentally go outside the lines or whatever, you know, you have a big thing that goes outside. You can always, like, you know, if it dries that way, you don't catch it in time, you can always just adjust the ink drawing. After it's dry, to accommodate for the new addition to the family. All right, so rinsing off my brush, doing my dirty water, and then in my clean water. I want to throw a little background in. Having the blue background kind of helps, you know, kind of helps push the shape out a little bit to find, you know, separate it from the back. I don't know, I just like it. It's a nice touch. I think it ends up looking a little bit more professional when you're done. Rinse off my brush. And for this, I'm just going to go ahead and maybe even wet this down a little bit first. We'll start up here. Let's start out. Where's dry? We'll start down here. Kind of wet this down. You don't have to go all the way up to the edge. If you leave a little bit of distance there, it's fine. I'm gonna get some blue. Just go pretty close. If if you do go right up to the edge and that paint is wet, it's gonna bleed right into it. If it does bleed right into it, that's okay. You just grab a paper towel or whatever. Ways of fixing it. Ways of dealing with said catastrophe. Relatively small one in the grand scheme of things. Again, just coming over here, put a little water down, leaving a little bit of space between my water and my painting, my subject. That way when I come in here with this, it doesn't turn into a complete mess. I want this to be about even as the other one, same kind of level of pigment, so pull it up a little bit more here. Most importantly, you want to kind of have it up top here too, because that blue, like that little blue still on my brush here, that blue pigment will help to really pop out the top of this corn cob. Super cob. Look at that thing, so majestic. Corn cob. Yes, because purple and yellow are complementary colors. Look at that. See, you said that, and I didn't even. I'm not looking at my screen. Sorry. Thank you for the help. They are complementary colors. Just like if I was really trying to render this out, I'd probably mix like a red into that stock and stuff. But I'm slacking. We got limited time. We only have an hour, which I think this is pretty good for an hour. It's a pretty solid exercise for an hour. Just scratching that out. If you want some texture in there, you can always just take a paper towel, scratch, or a piece of paper and scratch through that. See if we can get good light on this. I think it looks pretty good. It was fun. Look at this corn cob. This thing is ready to totally save the universe. I would go in here myself probably and add a little bit more definition to this front. The front of this thing right here. I don't want to get too crazy with it because it might still be wet, and if it is, it'll make a big mess. So I'll probably let this dry a little bit more. And then come in here with this pen. We're going to just flesh this shape out a little bit more. Also because it's so close, you want it to have a little bit more detail. Because that's how things work, right? You see more detail when things are up close? Me too. Really want to push that difference between one stalk and the other, or one piece of the husk and the other. That's why I kind of went in here and did that a little bit more. So this is a really great practice if you're trying to learn how to define shapes with line. And you can also make yourself a little coloring page out of it. Practice your watercolor skills. I'm just gonna have fun with this. I could probably spend another hour working on this project. and look crazy, all super detailed, super corn. But for now, I think this is going to be great. It's looking like we're about 6 o'clock. Thank you so much for anybody that joined along and either participated or, if you're watching this video after the fact on our Facebook Live channel or YouTube or whatever, just make sure you please like and subscribe. Give it the thumbs up if you can, thumbs up, and subscribe or like the page or whatever. We appreciate your support immensely. We couldn't do what we do and serve all of the wonderful patients and families that we do without your support. So thank you again and stay creative. We will see you again soon. Take care. Thank you. Bye.